Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we're going to talk about the biggest problem for the Trump administration electorally speaking, okay? The suburbs, okay? The suburbs are what is making Trump administration a very big problem, because you just saw a couple of weeks ago in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger improved the most in the suburbs of Loudoun, Prince William, Chesterfield, Eureka, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Suffolk, and especially in Spotsylvania and Caroline County, which I never thought it would be able to flip. Spotsylvania, okay, but Caroline, come on, no. Because, look, Caroline voted for Trump by an astonishing margin of almost 9 points. And if this happened, it was really a problem for the Trump administration as a whole. Look at this. Prince William, Covington and all the suburbs, Montgomery suburbs, Loudoun, you have here Spotsylvania as well, with the biggest swing. 22 points in Manassas Park, but that was because of the Latino population. Okay, that was just also a problem for the Trump administration, but we're going to talk about that later. You saw in 2018, when Trump got the first midterms, of course, and he was destroyed, the Republican Party, in the suburbs, okay? And we saw that also in 2024 and in 2020 when Trump got into Duval County in Florida, into Delaware County in Ohio, in Chester County, in Montgomery County, in Bucks County, in Pennsylvania. In all those suburbs, Trump was losing voters. Not losing in terms of turnout-wise, but in losing of percentage-wise. And the Democrats were really great in Virginia this time, because we were able almost to win Fluvanna County. I don't know how to say it, to be honest. And this was a county that voted for Trump by around 6. So you're seeing the trends, okay? Also here around, I mentioned this would flip in my predictions, Prince Edward County, but Lynchburg was blue earlier, but then it went back to red because of the university provisional ballots, okay? And as you can see here, this happening in Virginia, the suburbs shifting more. Look at Chesterfield County, 59-41. That was 10 points, and now it's 18 points. And that is Chesterfield County, one of the suburbs that voted for Trump in 2016, and now he's voting for Abigail Spanberger by almost, she's getting almost 60, okay? And as you can see here, this is very liberal around here, but when you get to the outside, the ex-suburbs, it's starting to be more conservative. That's why this is a suburban area, this is why this vote a little bit relative. Montgomery County, another suburb, look at this. He voted for Kamala by about 3, he voted for Abigail Spanberger by 17. It's a 14 points, 13 points, I'm sorry. That's a huge swing in suburban areas, because if you go, for example, to Republican areas, we didn't see too much of a swing. Look at this. It's around 6 points. Here is around 5, 3, 4. So that's around not so big, as you can see here. A little bit of swings to the left, or to the right, I'm sorry. But when you get to the suburbs, and especially this independent cities, you get a lot of swings, okay? And especially down here in Virginia Beach city area, because that's really the suburbs, okay? That's really what the suburbs are, and a lot of what happened this time was really about that point, okay? Prince William 16, Manassas, all of here around the Nova area. Also due to the shutdown, okay? Many Democrats, many people that work in government buildings and government offices, they were not happy with the shutdown, and they were trying to blame the Republicans for that, which you can blame everybody else. You can blame the Republicans and the Democrats, but they were both responsible, okay? Because when it happens to shut down, and it's responsible by both, you can argue, oh, but the Republicans have majority. Yes, but they need 60 votes. They needed 60 votes, and they didn't have the 60 votes because there were some Democrats, they needed to vote with the Republicans, and they're not doing so. And now the shutdown is over, so they don't need to worry about that. But you can see here, the Republican counties didn't swing too much. Look at this. 4, 4, 4, 6, 6, 5. So it was not the 10s and the 20s that we got in many of these Democratic counties, especially next to Northern Virginia area. Also, we can talk about California and the suburbs, especially around here, Orange County, because we're just going to talk about California, because that's also a very proof of the Democratic strength, at least this year, okay? You go, for example, to Los Angeles County, 74-26, 20 points. Essentially 20 points in Los Angeles County, and that's really what matters. And then you go to Orange County, a suburban area, 10 points here of swing. It's 2 to 10, that's 8 points. San Bernardino, 14. That it was 2 points Republican. That's a 16-point shift in San Bernardino. So 20 points shift in many of these counties. But if you go, for example, to Alameda County, 81-19, this was not like too much of a swing when you compare to many of it. Of course, it was still a swing, but it was not a swing as many other counties. As you go for Ventura County, 61-39. Look at this. It's really the difference. It's more than 10 points. So the point is, suburbs are shifting away from Trump, as they all did in many of these elections. I can just bring 2018, if you will, and you'll see what I mean. I'm sorry. Let's just bring the Senate. To be honest, it doesn't matter. To be honest, you saw here in Texas. Look at Dallas. Look at Tarrant County and suburbs. Like look at Houston, Harris County, one of the biggest counties in the U.S. And if you go to the suburbs, they all shifted. Williamson County, Hayes County, all of those. So they shifted a lot. If you go, for example, to Ohio, we talked about Delaware County here, and also Cincinnati, Hamilton County, and Montgomery County as well. For example, if you go here, Trump did much better. He lost Montgomery County, for example, 2024, but he won in 2016. So this is the point and I'm making. The suburbs are not happy with the administration. They were not happy with Trump over the last few years, or a few decades, if you will. They don't like Trump. They don't like because they're moderates, and Trump is not a moderate. You can argue whatever you want about him, but he is not a moderate, okay? And if you go, for example, to Virginia, Team Kaine won by about 16. Right now, we're seeing a win almost as big as Team Kaine. Of course, not with the same margins in many out of these places, but for example, Loudoun County, 63-34. It's actually a better margin for Abigail Spanberger in Loudoun County than it was for Team Kaine in 2020 and 2018. So this is actually very important. Look at Chesterfield, 10 points now. It was 18 or so. Montgomery was 16 now. It's around 17. So actually they're doing better in the suburbs than they did in 2018. This is an alarming sign for the Trump administration, for the Republicans as a whole. Because if the states are having a swing of 10 or 11 as Virginia had, what can happen to places like Ohio that voted for Trump by around 10 or 11? What can places like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, like Wisconsin, like Iowa, like Kansas? Because Kansas state that we have, I mean Kansas will not flip, but Kansas is a state that we already have a video about. Kansas and Nebraska are states that are flipping to the Democrats slowly, but they are shifting, okay? And what happened if this starts to shift much faster? If this starts, instead of being a 16-point win, imagine it goes to a 12-point win or 11-point win. What happened to these states? What happened to all of this? Because this could happen. What happened to Nevada and all of the gains this Trump made in the Hispanic communities? What happened to North Carolina? Because Trump did a lot of gains in Union County, in Cabarrus, in Alamance, in all of these counties that are quite suburban, to be honest. What happened to places like Ohio and Delaware County, where Trump is already seeing a shift from the left to the from the right to the left? And what can this mean? Can this mean this will go up and this will flip to be Democratic? In Lorain County, same thing. In Toledo, Lucas County, in all of these places. And you go to Michigan, there's places, there's communities like this in Oakland County, in Genesee, in Saginaw County. All of these are important for the Democrats, are important for the Republicans. What happens? If you go to Milwaukee and you go to places like the Wow and the Bow, because Waukesha, Zaki, and Washington, and also Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago, those are the six most important counties for the Republicans. What happens? Because those are suburban counties, and they voted for Obama. Many of these counties, like Winnebago, voted, and Outagamie as well. What happened to the shift we got in the last few years? What happened to Kenosha, a very Republican area now, a very suburban area that voted for Trump barely in 2020, but now he's voting more for Trump. So what happens to La Crosse? What happens to Eau Claire? And what happens to the Seltzer poll in Iowa? Because can Iowa be much more competitive because of all the suburbs are shifting? Because if you are a Republican, you really need to be worried about this. You can say whatever you want, but this is really not great for you. This is really concerning because turnout was very big for the Democrats. They turned out a lot of voters, and they turned out big percentages because the Republicans were not able to correspond in the same numbers in anything, okay? Nelson County, for example, won by Abigail Spanberger. This was a Trump win by around 8 points. So again, if we have a swing of about 10 points nationwide, what can this mean to the House and to the Senate and to the gubernatorial elections as well. This is really concerning for the Republicans, really concerning for the Trump administration, and they really need to do something, otherwise they'll be cooked in the next year's election, in the midterm elections, because this is just an analysis of the suburbs, but I do have a prediction of the Senate, of the gubernatorial level, and it's not really looking good for the Republicans right now. But we'll see, we still have some road to go until the election, so we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But if, for example, Roanoke County, which just want to finish with this, Roanoke County is just a suburb, and it's just the county itself, not the city, 16 points. It was 22, so another swing for the Democrats in a suburb. So this is the video, guys. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your like, and we'll be back with more videos soon. Thank you.